Hey guys, we are back again with Kicking Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio. Our sponsor for this second half is Marianne McNally. She's a real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, just not really sure where to start, she's definitely your go-to. So her number is 503-409-4389.
And we have shifted slightly in our location. We're around Mike's desk. More importantly, for those on YouTube, Kicking Cancer Productions, this is the pizza that Mike made. And now all four of us are eating some of it.
Yes.
What do you want?
Robin doesn't care.
We have a large pizza in front of us here that we're just devouring.
And right now there's a piece that's going past the camera. This is the green monster. Say goodbye to the green monster. Actually, not the green monster. Green monster's going quickly.
Monster.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Oh, there's one. I knew there was enough pieces there. And then I did get the Reggie Veggie, which is actually, this is one of my favorites, Mike, is Reggie Veggie. So, Once again, so much fun that first half to have Mike actually make the pizza and talk about what's on the pizza and how powerful all these ingredients are.
Yes.
Because here's the deal. Plants are not alternative medicine.
No, they're medicine.
They're the real medicine.
They're the real deal. Thank you.
But Robin mentioned something in the first half, and I wanted to dive a little bit more into this.
Okay.
When I met Robin, she was describing this Pathways program, and we began working together to pull this idea of hers as a program into ours. And I know that as I met Mike and be describing the Pathways program, like Mike and Robin just made this connection because of some things that his family had gone through and how, if Pathways had been around, it could have been more help for your family.
That's right.
And then we watched something happen just over a year ago, and as a board, it was hard on the board. We watched Ozzy pass.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That one was a hard
I
one.
remember calling Robin in April, because his birthday's in May, and the whole board's like, he's not going to wait till his birthday.
Yeah.
But then he made it till May.
Yeah.
He made it to May.
And June.
And he kept going.
And July. And he's making memories.
Yeah.
And he made it till August. And then he passed early September last year.
Yeah. That was a hard one on the whole community.
Definitely.
I know it was hard on you and I recording the show. But I think what became even harder is September rolls around, and then October, and then November, and then December, and I'm not getting any response back from
Shiloh.
Yeah. And I remember reaching out to Rob, and I said, we have to find a way to take our youth program and extend it to adults.
Oh,
because these two are stuck.
Very much so.
Remember that conversation you and I had?
Yes.
They are stuck.
And I was also in the process of doing something. We don't have to talk. We
got
just,
wavelengths.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were kind of thinking about this anyway. Well, it's a bit fortuitous that we are airing this show the day we are. Because it was 35 years ago yesterday that my wife's mother died of breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And she and I were having this conversation a little earlier this week, and there was this really long pause. Because I was telling her about Esther, the guy we were talking about the first half of the show. And she says, it's not that I don't want you to share this stuff with me, but every time you do, I remember my mother withering away in time.
Yeah.
And it just brings it right back to her, like 35 years later. And the whole time she's telling me this, I mean, I'm just trying to be a little sympathetic to the situation. I'm going, you need Robin's Adult Pathways program.
Yeah.
She's stuck in this cycle of trauma and grief from her mom.
It's not just kids that can get stuck. It's very much still adults. It's all of us.
Yeah.
We all need help. With difficult situations. We all can use a hand up. We can all use that support person standing by our side. Just because we're adults doesn't mean we don't feel and go through things as well. Right.
I talked to Robin, and we kind of broke down into a couple of different components. And I'm going to let Robin deal with this. What's the background of grief and trauma? And how is it different between men and women?
So, there's a huge difference in
I'm going to eat pizza while you talk.
Oh. There's a huge difference between men and women and how they deal with grief and trauma. In all grief, there's a trauma. And in all traumas, there is an element of grief. They go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
So something tragic happens, a car accident even, right? Well, you have the grief of going through all of the medical, maybe somebody else got hurt permanently. So there's always a connection. And there's different types of trauma, what I call a small T trauma and a large T trauma. Small T's are, possibly losing your favorite pillow. That's a small T. Mm-hmm. But that's a trauma if you really love that pillow, right? And the capital T is the major event. The cancer, the auto accident, the divorce. Mm-hmm. Those are all traumas. And in all those traumas, there are elements of grief.
Yeah.
And we as a society, which I would love to change this, men are raised that you are not allowed to show grief and trauma. They have to remain stoic. Mm-hmm. Where women have no problem showing grief and trauma. There's different levels, though. So what I propose and what I do is I work with people because you'll never get rid of your grief. You'll always remember the trauma. But let's make a positive effect on you so that you use it in a positive way to uplift you.
It's funny you said it that way because, Mike and I and Robin are about the same age, and there was a song, and Mike might have heard the song. There was a song when we were young called "Big Boys Don't Cry."
Yes.
And it's a lyric within the song, but it's "Big Boys Don't Cry," and I grew up with that lyric, "Big Boys Don't Cry." And so here you are as a child, you're 6 or 7, being told by society, "Big boys don't cry."
Right.
Now, I was talking about my wife and her situation. That was kind of the attitude in their family.
Yeah.
Even as a female, she was told by her parents, you don't show your grief. You don't cry. Mm-hmm. And so it was really difficult for her with her mother as her mother's passing. And I vividly remember her dad ultimately passed from prostate cancer. And she's just a really strong woman. She's going to handle all this. She's not going to cry. We get there, and we go up, and he's in the coffin. And she just broke.
I bet.
Because
brought back the mom.
Yeah.
Big boys don't cry. But now mom's already passed, and here's dad, and she just lost it. And it's what society tells us, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, and society has placed a time limit on grief and trauma. After a year, you're supposed to be over it a year max, and then move on. That's not the case.
No.
In any event.
I think a lot of like my husband, he grew up in a household where, men don't show emotion, men don't cry. You're tough, and it is what it is. And so we've actually, it took a few years working on that, breaking that down, like communicate, talk, get it out, work through those emotions. Because if you don't, they're bottled up, and they're real.
Right, and they're real. Explode in ways that is very unhealthy for you. Mm-hmm. It goes into disease. If you're holding it in, there's a disease factor with all that stress and the trauma and grief that can come out of you. Mm-hmm. It could explode as anger, and then it hurts somebody around you.
Yeah.
So that's what we deal with in all of this, so that we can go through and just create the positive aspects and uplift you.
Yeah, I love that.
And I won't ever say you're going to forget it. You're going to remember the good times. You're going to remember how things were that you were happy.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
I love that. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I didn't tell you ahead of time, Mike.
I know. I'm waiting, and I'm like, okay.
I'm not going to go down that road because I already know that's a hard road for you to go down. But I do remember when I told you about the Pathways program and how much you wanted to help support the Pathways program.
Yeah, it was like a big bell that went off when you said it. It was like,
because it's your
never bridged gaps.
Niece and nephew, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Never bridged gaps until you mentioned it to me, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
And we had got through that first year. I met Robin during that first year. We're just starting the second year. We're starting to develop this Pathways program out, and then COVID hits, and so we had to put the brakes on it. I met Mike towards the end of the second year. It was early 2021. And we just needed some funds. And, Mike, you did something awesome with this fundraiser that we did here. We did at all the locations. Just come and eat pizza, and he donated some money back to us. Helped us survive a quarter that was pretty difficult financially.
Yeah.
And finally I said, I loved his help. Like, why?
What's your why?
It was the pathways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then I introduced
He's like, I don't want to talk.
Well, but then I introduced you to Robin.
Write it down, maybe.
And I do, because we have the cameras, I want to point this out. All three of us are wearing this Join the Movement
Join the
shirt,
Movement.
right?
Yes.
And over Oregon, it has KSLM. Mike's doesn't.
No, Oddmo's is special. It is.
Well, and the reason is, during that time we were doing those fundraising, I came to him with this idea for the shirt, and we put Odd Mo's over, and he let his employees wear that as their employee shirt during those fundraising.
I love that.
Yeah. But then we realized, we've got to build out this adult program too.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it going to look, Robert? How's this adult program? Are you going to do group sessions, individual sessions? How are you going to run the program?
So I'm actually offering it both ways.
Okay.
Because people really, in a group setting, the support you get from each other is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very, very special. You can reach each other, you can support each other, and we work as a group through the whole process. We also offer individuals who feel that they just need the one-to-one support.
Mm-hmm.
As an individual, we actually go a lot deeper.
Okay, yeah.
Than what we can as a group.
In a group, right. You can break down
You can
more.
break it down. Mm-hmm. And the group sessions really work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would do a group session and say, hey, let's go a little deeper.
Yeah.
And then move over to an individual.
Yes.
So both ways are fantastic ways of helping yourself gain the support that you need to level up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of my favorite sayings is that it takes a village in all things.
You read my mind.
And that's not just with children. Like with parenting, I reach out to my sisters and my dad and for advice just on it takes a village in all things across the board with children, adults, all of us. So I love that you're creating a village.
And what I also, this isn't just for cancer survivors or families with cancer. I'm reaching out to all communities. No matter what you went through, this is a good aspect for you. So it doesn't need to be a disease. It's anything trauma.
Okay.
Anything grief that we're building here.
Okay. Awesome.
I got a very interesting email sometime back. It was before this adult program was being built out, but when I knew there was a need for it, very interesting situation that actually really occurred down in the Salt Lake Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
Two good families. Both of their kids were driving. And the one kid grabbed their cell phone and didn't look at the road. Mm. The other kid, the two cars collided. So let's say that, Robin's kid is out driving and my kid is in the other car, and Robin's kid didn't pay attention and her kid hit my kid's car but killed my kid. Mm-hmm. And these two families had to forgive each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of trauma.
God, yeah, you're pulling at my heartstrings on this hypothetical situation. But it's real.
It really did happen. It really did. It wasn't hypothetical. It really did happen.
Well,
and they found our website, and again, Morgan's on our board, and Morgan's done a phenomenal job with increasing our SEO, increasing our exposure. I'm getting requests 2 and 3 times a week. Can you help in various situations?
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes they're legitimate, like needs for Go Team. Sometimes they're not. I can kind of filter some of those out. And I'm reading this one going, we are not the organization you want to talk to.
Right, yeah.
Which is why these go-to teams are so important to refer them to.
Absolutely.
But can you imagine the amount of, we're not talking cancer, but the amount of trauma in those two families. Mm-hmm. We're good friends, we're in church together, we're baseball games, and your kid just killed my kid.
Yeah. That would be a lot to work through.
And there's another, and something that I personally am going through right now, is my daughter is going through some traumatic issues in her life. Now, it doesn't affect me, but I'm her mom. Mm-hmm. It kept me up all night. Mm-hmm. Because she reached out to me, we're talking, we're coming up with ideas, and I'm her mom. I want to take care of her.
Right.
So that's a trauma.
Oh,
So
gosh,
it doesn't necessarily have a lot of grief to it, but I'm sad she's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to my coach. I even have a coach.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I need a trauma release.
Mm-hmm.
So
A trauma release. I like that.
Yes. And that's what I do.
Okay.
And I have no problems doing it myself.
Yeah. Well, I need a trauma release.
I
From teenagers.
I will
Help.
attest to Robin's trauma releases because she's taken me through a trauma release.
Okay.
And it was something that happened.
You were 5?
I was, yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. And it was, I'm not going to get into details about it, but
That's fine.
I had forgotten about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had forgotten about it. And Robin's just kind of walking me through some scenarios, and all of a sudden I remembered it. And
You're like, whoa, I didn't realize it was that deep still, huh?
yeah, in fact, there was this long pause. You know, I cried long pause. She goes, "Okay, you're there, aren't you?"
Yeah.
But by going through that trauma release that she's talking about, it enabled me to then move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I'm going to help people through traumatic events, and I don't deal with my own,
Yeah, you got to work through your own.
so
Yeah.
this trauma release is really powerful.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I feel really confident that what we've done so far has made a big difference within the community with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And adding this adult pathways program is going to be really powerful.
Okay. I'm
So-
excited.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I am too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So the individual can start anytime. The group will start in later on this year or first part of next year.
Okay.
Probably early January. would be the first
Probably
group.
early January. But I can start individuals anytime.
Okay.
So that's...
And do you have a website? How do they?
So this is the great thing. You just go to kicking-cancer.org,
Yeah.
hit support, hit pathways, hit adult, and you're there.
And
Okay.
I'm there.
And
Okay,
she's already
perfect.
set up. You can say individual or group. You can already indicate it. There is a cost
Mhm.
because we're asking Robin to come in and spend her time
Oh, yeah.
to do this. You know?
Absolutely.
But I guarantee you, her cost is nowhere near the cost of some other people you go to.
Right.
See.
Absolutely.
And if you're ready and you're open to it, there's not a lot of better people out there than Robin to guide you through it.
Yeah. So if you guys didn't catch that or can't find on the Kicking Cancer website and support, just email me, Amanda, at kslm.news, and I will get you over all of that information and get you your direct link.
There was another thing you mentioned, though, to Robin, how you were raised and then how you learned to live with it. How you were raised and how you deal with trauma. Can you elaborate on that just for a second?
So, I want to say I was raised pretty similar as all three of you, right? I had to be tough, in many ways, and I carried that through my life. So I've done paramedic work, I've done police work, I was on the streets, I'm still doing some of that stuff, and I have to be real tough. But that's how I was raised, don't show emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And in what I do and all the certifications that I had to take to get to this point, I've learned that I can reach out and I can give my heart to you, Amanda, and trust you with it. I can do it with Barron and even Mike here. We've had some...
That's a circus. I don't know if you want to be a part of that. I'm a traveling
But
circus.
it's a learning aspect, and that's what I'm teaching is it's learning to be vulnerable, to be a part of this world in a way that you can show empathy, and to trust that your tears are going to be your tears. That you can honestly just let it go and know that it doesn't matter how anyone else takes it.
Mm-hmm.
It's within you. It's how you deal with yourself.
That was the hardest thing for me when I agreed to let Robin take me through this trauma release, right? One, I knew I was going to be vulnerable to go through this trauma release.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew that Robin, was my friend, that she'd walk me through it. I knew that she was certified. But then when I hit that moment, I don't remember what happened in that moment, then I really became vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was such a now looking back, it was a very embarrassing thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But until I could get it out in a safe environment, and I cried.
You did.
I released,
That's good.
But I needed
It's
to.
positive.
It is positive.
Yes.
And I think that's what I walked away with was my family makes fun of the fact that I cry.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started getting cancer, they're like, "You cry too much." I'm like, "But that's really who I am." And now I'm like, I can control it a little bit, but I don't have to not do it.
Right.
And it's necessary.
You're allowed to feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're allowed to
and it
feel.
doesn't matter what the people around you think.
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't. It's how you heal within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
this is all relatively new to you, Mike. Do you have any thoughts running through your head that you
I have
feel
lots.
comfortable sharing?
No, actually, my kids are a lot better at expressing their emotions like that. I've got my youngest son, Ian, is pretty passionate, and so he's a lot more comfortable doing that. I mean, it's been an uphill battle for him to kind of get through all the stereotypes and all of that kind of stuff. But for Ian, and I'm sorry, Ian, bringing this up, but no, so he can let his emotions out a lot freer. Me, I'm still stuck back in those old days, and you talk about having that family that's strongest. But I'm raised by my mom. She couldn't get past it. In fact, when my sister passed, that was it. She was done working. She was done doing anything. And I asked her, I'm like, Mom, it's okay to cry. She's like, if I start, I'm not going to stop. And so that's where she got stuck. And I was never able to get her past that. So, stop.
Yeah.
So, eventually, I'm going to pull my circus into your, What is all that noise out there? It's like all these, whatever you call it, cymbals and, drums beating and all that. Mike is outside, so.
Well, I
But
remember.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like that, they just carry a lot with them.
Yeah.
I remember, Mike, I asked you to put your sister's story and your mom's story on paper. And I hadn't got the email back. And he says, I got about 2 paragraphs. Well, I got 2 sentences and a lot of tears on this piece of paper.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I still haven't given you my sister's story.
When you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing it all. But even putting your mom's down, it was just... And I think the hardest part is whatever that trauma is. For me, it wasn't cancer. For me, it was actually some personal abuse that I went through. But when you get to that moment, when you remember that moment, the emotion's going to hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And either you deal with it or you don't. Now,
Yeah.
I decided to deal with it with Robin, and it's easy to walk away from the emotion too. But we just realized within Kickin'Cancer's organization that we can help people on so many levels and getting past this trauma. And I just kudos to Robin for what she's building out with an adult and a kid pathways program.
Yeah. Yes. Huge kudos to you.
Thank
Because
you.
it's very much needed.
Thank you.
I don't think trauma's talked about enough.
No.
If you want to know the truth. I think a lot of people hide from it, shove it deep down and move on from it. And in reality, it'll always hold us back if we don't release
That's exactly
it.
what I was going to say. Everything that you stuff holds you back.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if you want to, well, and I use level up a lot, but if you want to grow in your life and become a person you always dreamt to be,
Mhm.
you got to release the emotion. You've got to be able to feel. You always have to have empathy for other people and other things in your life.
Yeah.
And let that spread, and you will see yourself grow and things change in your life that you never expected.
Yeah.
Baron's a good example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on our timeline, because we're almost out of time on the show, but something interesting.
Jeez,
That was
sorry.
really loud. Something really
Sorry, audience, if we just startled you.
I was trying to pull up my thing for Marianne.
It was January of 2022, and this person reached out to me and they'd seen those polos that we created.
Yeah.
So they'd seen our polos, but now it's January and it's cool outside. They said, could you do a hoodie for me?
Oh.
So we did our first custom hoodie. Well, now that we're running into fall, we do make custom hoodies.
Do you?
We do.
Oh.
And they're made to order.
Okay.
So you call me and you say, I would like in this case it was really bright pink because their mother had breast cancer, but like you put someone's name on it. And
Yeah.
so it's just a little logo right here on a hoodie
Mhm.
and says honoring whoever. And we did our very first hoodie. It was pink on January the 12th, 2022. And then we began really building out this apparel line, 9 colors of shirts, polos, hoodies,
Yeah.
hats, beanies, because someone said, I don't want a polo. It's cold.
Yeah, you
Want
had
a
me
hoodie?
at hoodie.
Yeah.
I'm a hoodie girl. I'm a hoodie and leggings girl all day long.
Yeah. Well, and then they're customized. So they
Yes.
have who you care about on them.
Okay.
And once we started customizing the polos and the hoodies, people were like, oh, yeah. And they're $55 for a customized hoodie. I think it's a pretty deal now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. If you go out and buy them, they're way more than.
If you're going to get customized hoodies, we feel like 50 is a good price.
Oh, even
Absolutely.
uncustomized hoodies cost more.
Yeah. Amen.
So anyway, that's our timeline item. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Mike, thank you so much for all the pizza and poppers. I feel like I'm going to roll out of here. Literally.
Ton of
Just
fun.
roll
Ton of
on
fun.
out. Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor for our second half, who is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, not sure where to start, she's your go-to. Her number is 503-409-4389. And we'll be back next week as the movement continues.